Hello. Let me see. Hey guys, I'm instructor today. If you can turn on cameras, that would be great. I might have some questions later on. So let hi Sarah, hi Danielle. Nice to meet you. Let me share my screen now. Share. Okay. Can you guys see my screen right now? Okay, great. So, um, I'm an instructor today. Little bit of about myself. I am software engineer currently working at Microsoft Xbox. I'm a software engineer right now. I also study data science for my master, and then today we're gonna focus on the Python because for this data science course, getting to know a little bit of Python or basics very important to move on to the next courses. So we are gonna go over some like a basic components, little bit of introduction to Python, and then some variables like what is operators, expressions, and data types, functions, and so on. Um, so, how many of you guys are familiar with Python? Do you guys know how to, Sarah? Okay, Daniel. Okay, Jaden. Okay, great. You guys know how to run like a Jupyter notebook or how to run the code in Python? Or, okay. Also, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop the message in the chat. I will check time to time. Um, you can just send the direct messages or like just um, yeah, post for everybody. So anything works for me. So, okay. So let's dive in. So introduction to Python. So let me see. So as you guys know, or some of you guys don't know, the Python is programming language, but it's called interpreted programming language. Do you guys know what is programming? Jaden says something. Sorry, there's something wrong with my computer. Um, no worries. This is getting recorded, so you can watch recording later on if you miss anything at the beginning. You can also talk to the Korean Daily USA for the help. You can ask, you can send a message to Korea Daily USA, and then they're gonna help you if you have any issue with your computer or anything. Um, okay, sounds good. So, okay, so programming is basically in you with the programming language you make the programs, and the programs is a set of the code give you instruction to the machines. So like a Zoom, like we are using the Zoom to communicate each other. We are sharing our screens. I'm talking to you, and then you can hear my voice. Everything is from the programming. This is an application running on your computer. There is a set of instructions like, oh, am I raise your hands, and then maybe you will see raise hand emoji on top, or I can talk to you, and then you guys can listen to me, and then those are all like from part of the programs. So program is a set of instructions telling the computer what to do, and then they have their own rule, like typical language. The programming for the programming, the language, they have like a syntax, they have a rules how to instruct the computers, and then what is a type, and then how to like communicate with the computer. So we're gonna learn how to communicate, how to give instructions to computer so that they can run the code and then do what you tell them to do. So the first thing you need to know is variables. So variable is kind of name where you can point to the data. So you can save any result or making the data organized. So for example, let's say you want to do 1 plus 2. So we can just do 1 plus 2, and then we as a human, we know 1 plus 2 is 3. But for computer, they have to know, okay, what is the name where store 1? And what is the name of something I can use that store 2? So let's say we use A as a variable name, and then put the 2, number 2, and then there is a B, another name, and then put a 1, and then we can do A plus B, and then computer we understand as, okay, A is 1 and B is 2, so A plus B is 3. So that's how computer access the number, and then how to understand the data using the name. And that we call it variables. Okay. And then with all these variables, there are like a lot of operators we will go through later. We can assign the value with operator, and then some other double equal signs. We are gonna cover it later. But there is a rule for the names. So you can only use like letters, numbers, or underscores, and that it must start with a letter. And this is kind of rule like to create a variable name. So you cannot use something like special like a characters, or like starting with plus or a minus. That's, if you're trying to use that, the computer wouldn't understand, because that's outside of the rules we promised each other. So this is a variable. And then this is how you assign store the value to the variable. Let's say you name one of the variable called my variable, and then you want to assign 5 to it. And then here you use equal sign. That means you want to store 5 to the my variable. And then if you want to do plus 10, you can just do my variable plus 10. And then if you print it out, it's gonna show you 15. So if you just use the variable, the computer will get confused and saying, okay, I have a name, but I don't have a value. Then how I'm gonna do with this variable? So you must assign something to a variable, and then before you use it, if you don't do that, the computer wouldn't understand what you're trying to do. So this part, we cover the variable, and then the next is just a simple example. Let's say you wanna find the area of a circle given the radius. So let's say we wanna create a variable named radius, and then you assign 10. And then to calculate the area, you need the pi. So let's just say like a pi is, we simplify it, so it's like 3.14159. And then to calculate the area, you can do pi multiplied by radius, and this is the area. And when you do like a print function, this is supported in Python. So if you put some variable inside of this print, and then put this in this bracket, it's gonna print the value to the screen. I'm gonna give a demo later, so you will have a better understanding like what I'm explaining right now. So this will print 314.15 to your screen. So this is how you use a variable, and then how you can do like use the operators with this variable. So now we're talking about operators. it's like a math. We have plus, minus, multiplication, division, and everything you can use in a Python. And then I explained how do we use print to show the value stored in the variable. Um, you can use two variable to add the values between operand 1, operand 2, or it's gonna be like 3.5. And then you can also do like a print, like hi, this is means that you're gonna make it as a string. String is like a characters, it's not a number. So if you print it, that it's gonna be printed as like just hi. And then you can do like a 32, 48. You can just put the number inside of the print however you want. So you can put variable or number. And then all of these operators, it just like mathematical operators, but there is some like a differences when it comes with strings, which is like characters or some kind of alphabet or so. And I'm gonna also show you how does the string work with the operators. So this is examples. For example, you can do 5 plus 10, and it's just gonna give you 15. And then this is inside of the double quote, and then it's gonna be just the computer on Python will understand this as string. So if you do plus plus between the strings, they're gonna just add all together in order. So it's just gonna like produce the high J. So you see there is a little space in between because they like append the string to in the order. So high is comes after, and the space comes after high, and the J, and then we add all together, so it's gonna be as a one string. And then you can also do like a 10 divided by 2 plus 3. For the operators for even for the math, division or multiplication should be operated first. So if you want to do plus first before you divide some numbers, you can just put in between this bracket, and then it's just gonna uh, add 2 and 3 first, and then it will divide this 5 after. So it's gonna produce 2, and then you can also check it, compare the number which is bigger or which is smaller. So you can check if 10 is bigger than 5, and then it's gonna produce, yeah, true. And then we call this type Boolean because Boolean type only have true or false. So it helps you when you just want to check, okay, I want to know if the statement I'm having, or if this operation is true or false. So you can check like this, or if you do it is 10 smaller than 5, and it's gonna give you false. And then you can also 10 divided by 3.5, it's gonna give you 2.857. It's gonna be long, but if you do like a double slash, it's gonna remove the decimals. It's gonna just like round it up the value, and they just give you like a single digit number like this. And then you can also 10 and 3, and then it's gonna give you just 1 here. Do you guys have any questions so far? Everything's good? Okay. So um this is all like part of the like operators. You can do plus, minus, multiplication, division, and you can check if the number is less than or greater than, or if the number is less than or equal, or greater than or equal. So you can also check if the two values are same. So you can do a lot of checks with these operators. Yeah, also you can do like a modular operators, also check the remainders. So you can do pretty much everything you can do for using these operators. Okay, so I explained a little bit about operators working differently for strings. So let's say you do 3 plus 3, and it's gonna be 6. But if you add 2 or more strings, the plus operator produce a concatenated version of the strings. Hi plus j will be just one string as hi j. And then this one, we don't have space in between, so it's gonna add up all together. So it's gonna be converted into one string. And you can also do like multiplication operator for the string. If you do hi j and then you do like this multiplication operator and then do 3, and it's gonna just repeat hi j 3 times and then add it all together. So it's gonna be hi j, hi j, hi j as a one string. So basically you're repeating this string like 3 times and then add them all together. This one, I think we wouldn't use this a lot for this in this course, but you can just understand as like if you do percentage a percent sign inside of the string and they use this number is going to this position, like replace the f and percent, and then the 3 4 is going to be in this f letter. So it's gonna be eventually test 3 4. So yeah, it's just be careful when you use operators with strings, because that's gonna produce something like a differently than using with the numbers. So I talked about there's a number and then there's a string, and then we have to like know, okay, then what kind of data types the Python have. So I want to like play with the different type of the data, and then those all different type is called type. So type is any piece of the data using the type function. So if you want to see, okay, what kind of type of this string or this value I'm putting in, and you can just use the type function. And then if you put inside of the type function, it's gonna produce, okay, this type is string. String str is means just a string. And if you put just true, we saw that if you use equal, if it is bigger or smaller operators, it returns the Boolean type of the value, like a true or false. Only two type it exists in bool type, and then it's gonna produce bool. And then because it's Boolean, and then type 5, it's gonna be int. And then 5.0, it's gonna be float. Float and int, the difference is the 5 is just a digit, and then you see the float type, it has a like a decimals here, and it can be like a point 1, point 0, or point 1, or point 2. Those are like basically the same value. Those are equal, but the type is just different. So if you see this point 0, that means it's just the float type. But when you see these two value, they're basically same. So yeah, floating point numbers have a fractional part digit after the digit after the decimal place, and the integers do not have that values after the decimal. So those are the main difference. Um, I explained it earlier. Int plus int is going to be int, like 3 plus 3 or 5 plus 5. It's gonna be produced of 10, 5, whatever, and then it's gonna be int. But if you do int plus float type, and it's gonna be float, because typically when you do like a float and int, the Python wanna show you, okay, whatever the int value you added to the float, it's gonna be just a float. And then for division, integer division produce a different result from floating point. So if you do use this like a double, like a slash, it's gonna produce only 3. But if you do just single, it's gonna give you like a float point number. And then if you do float and float division, it's just gonna be the same. So some operator work differently on the different data types. So I recommend to play with these operators, trying to add or divide with the different numbers, and you will see the result and to see how they work in a different way. Yeah. So these are all integers, -5, 10, 0, 77. Those are all integers. With the floating point numbers, with this dot, everything is float. And the bool is booleans, true or false. And then strings are inside of the double or single quote. And then they're gonna be little bit working a little bit differently compared to using with numbers. So we're gonna see that later. So yeah, so let's just see the code. Let's just go through the code, and then I will just give you some overview how we can work with these variables and then operators. Do you guys Are you guys familiar with the Jupyter Notebook? Have you guys used this before? No? Okay,
No.
okay, great. So Jupyter Notebook is just like a notebook, but the difference is like it helps you write the code and then run at the same time. You can also kind of write a note here. So for example, if you want to write a text, you can just add the text cells, and then you can write, okay, this is text, blah, blah, blah. And then you can just like leave a note here. And then if you want to write a code, you can just use a code part like print like hello world, and then you can just like have a different cells. So this is for code, and then this is for the comment. You can write however you want, and then if you want to run this code, you can just use this button, and then if you run it, it's gonna run in this browser, and then you can see the result right away. So you don't need to like set up everything to run the code or play with it. You can just go to the Jupyter Notebook, and then just run like a play with it or add a text. For some of you are not familiar with Jupyter Notebook, I can share some links later. So if you guys want to play with it, you can do it. So this is the notebook I prepared for this lecture. So there are already comments or code in here. So um, you don't need to worry about like running it, or you don't need to, yeah, it's okay if you are not prepared. I will just go through it one by one. So variable. So I said variable is names for the data. So here are all the examples. I create a variable called name, and then assign the value with the equal sign. So name store the value of Alice as string. So I said this or this is string type. So make sure this is a string. So string type of the value is stored in name, and this is integers. So 25 is stored in the age variable. And then if you print them, they're gonna show you, okay, name, Alice, age 25. And then this comma is basically adding these two things together to print them out. So basically you wanna print the string name, and then you want to add the actual value of this variable. So you can do however you want. So if you just print the name, it's not going to show you the name part. It's only going to show you the value, which is Alice. But if you want to add extra comment like this is a name, this is a name variable, or something, and then if you just do it, make sure you put the comma in between, and then it's gonna show you, okay, this is a name variable and the Alice is gonna be printed. So that's all. And then to use the variables, let's say you store the variable, the value 5 to my variable, and then you want to print it out. However, you also want to do like plus 10 to the existing variable. So you can just do like my variable plus 10, and it's going to print out the 15 because my variable is 5. And then if you add 10, it's going to be 15. So you can just play with it with the different numbers. Say there's a test 1 to 3, you plus 10, it's gonna be 133. And then now you also have a test, but if you store the test value plus 50, and then you assign the value into the test again, it's going to be 123 plus 50, and it's stored in the test value again, test variable again. So it's gonna be 1 to 3. So now 1 to 3 plus 50, now test value is going to be 173. And then if you do this sign, so this is basically same as this. So this is the same. This plus and equal, they're like next to each other. This is like a fancy version of doing this statement. So test equal test plus 50 can be simplified by doing plus and equal operator. So basically they're doing the same, which means you're just gonna do add like a 50 again. So that's why it printed out 223. Yeah. So you can also do like minus, and that means test equal test minus 50. And then you can also do division, and then it's gonna be like this. If you want to kind of write a fancy code, you can just use it like this because it's kind of reduce the number of the code you can write, right? So this is one of the way you can just do use with the operators. And then I said variable names are very important because that's kind of like rules between you and maybe Python, that okay, I can only understand the name with the letters or number or underscore. So you don't want to start with a number, or um, you don't want to like start with a random like plus or something other special characters, because they're not going to understand it. And then make sure this variable name is case sensitive, which means test 1 to 3, and then uppercase starting with the upper case T, test 1 to 3, and they're different for a computer, or from the Python perspective. So a lot of people make a mistake when you write a lot of like long code. You can type a mistake. Sometimes you do use the test 1 to 3, and then later you use this test 1 to 3, and then you will see the different values. And then you might wonder, okay, why am I seeing a different values? And then that means you're using like different variables, or maybe you do like a different using the different operators. So making sure you're using the right name when you're writing a code. And also you cannot use some like a built-in functions like a print. For example, this function is like provided by Python. So if you wanna like print out some values you stored, you can just use this function and then put the value in between. But if you're trying to use this value, they're gonna get confused and then give you some errors. So try not to use this kind of built-in functions because it's not allowed. And then let's see. Also, another important part, when you're practicing writing code, usually you write a code for yourself. Like you want to test something, you want to practice something, but usually when you write a good code, you want to share your code with someone, and then you guys are working together to write a good programs. Maybe you want to make a programs like Instagram filter, like put some like emojis or something. So you share the code. But if someone write a code with this variable name, let's say I have a Emma variable and I put 1 to 3, and then I'm telling you, okay, this is my code. Do you understand what is variable for? I think it's gonna be hard, right? So if you wanna write a good code, can be shareable with other people, make sure your variable is very specific, and then it includes the meaning what you're trying to do with this variable. So that's the important part. Okay, we don't have any questions so far. Okay, good. Jaden, were you able to fix the issue with your computer? Um, okay, good. Are we going to do practice problems? Okay, Daniel. Does it mean like some kind of random like questions we can solve together? Um, this is kind of like a practice problems. I'm gonna ask you some like questions later. What do you think of this? The answer is gonna be if I print it out. So what I can do, I can just let's see, I can just clear all the outputs here. Then you're not gonna see any output I ran before. That's from the previous practicing I was doing. So now you don't see any like like output values here. So I can go through all lines, and you can kind of think of what is gonna be the answer for the each line if that's what you're asking. Or did you want to have more practice problems for the next session? Maybe I can prepare more if you like to do so. Okay, okay, great. So with the operators, I think it's pretty easy for you all, but you can kind of think of what is gonna be the answer for this. A plus B, this is A, this is B, and A minus B. Um, I think this is pretty straightforward for you all, but maybe this is gonna be very interesting for you. So what do you think the answer for this? Are you guys familiar with these like operators, like two multiplication operators? So this is like a basically exponential operators. So what it means by A with these two multiplication operators, and B, that means this is 10. You multiply 10 3 times. So it's basically 10 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 10 like this. So this is sometimes useful if you want to do some like exponential like operation. So it's sometimes you can get confused with this just single multiplication. So just make sure the normal multiplication you use just one, but if you use two, um, put them together, that's gonna be the different operators. So if you run it, as you can see, this one is 10 multiplied by 3, so it's gonna be 30, but you can see that exponential is gonna be 1000. So this is just different operators. Um, okay, good. Um, let's run this one by one. Um, we covered this a little bit. You can think of what is the answer is gonna be with this operation. I said this is integer and this is float, so the result is going to be the float type. You have 10 plus, and it's gonna give you all digit. And then what do you think this is gonna return? Can anybody can think of this?
Is it 10? What is
Oh, sorry.
this?
Yeah, 10 plus string. And then this gonna give you error because it says unsupported operand types because int and string cannot be used together with the plus sign. Do you remember like what kind of operators can be used with the string? Yeah, other strings, that's good. And also you can use a string like this. Yeah, right. You can do plus with other strings. So between strings, you can do plus, but with the number and strings, like the Python wouldn't understand that comment. So you have to follow the specific rules, and then this one you can use it too. So this is basically gonna give you 10 hellos. Um, this is okay, but the plus is not okay. Yeah. And then this one, just do a quick math. Think about what's gonna be the result. Um, this is going to be -5. And because they're gonna do addition first between this 4 plus 2 and then do 18 and then 13 minus 18 is -5. But this one gonna give you different result. And this is 3. And then the reason is like we do in math, they do multiplication first, like multiplication and division first. So it's gonna be 12. So 1 plus 2 is gonna be 3. So if you wanna like do specific like operation first, make sure to use this so that they calculate between the rounded bracket first and then do multiplication. So that's the part I wanted to explain a little bit. I know all of this kind of like a type operation thing, like a little bit boring because okay, I do math all the time. Why I have to do in programming too? But it can be really useful. You can trust me. You might wanna like it's very simple. Like let's say you are trying to add all the documents in one document. So you have like five different documents and if you want to store it into one document, and then what you're going to do, you have to add all the strings and then combine all of them and then make it into maybe one string. And then for that, maybe you want to use plus operators. And then the what is that? Calculator apps you're using on your phone. Those are also using like this all kind of operators inside. So you never know when you're gonna use this operator. So um, it can be fun. At the same time, it can be boring. um, yeah, so let's just recap for the data types. We have integer, and then if you want to see the type of this number, you can use this type function. And then float, this is digits with the 5 and 10. This is called a float type. And these are string because it's in the inside of the single quote. So we call it string, and then the type is gonna be just a string. And then this type, oh, so type is just checking what kind of values, what kind of type you are using for this variable. It can be useful, for example, when you have sometimes you're creating a lot of different variables, and then you sometimes you have to check of okay if this value is integer or string, or is this for like something else, then you can use this type function to make sure, okay, the value I'm using is integer or float, because based on that, you might want to do different operations. This is just like a built-in functions. Python provides you a lot of different like useful function you might want to use. So this is just one of them. Yeah, I hope this answered the questions. And if you just run it, it's just like this. It's gonna show you all the type of the variable, like this string value string, and this boolean is like bool. And then if you wanna convert integer to float, you can just put integer value inside of the float function, and then now it's gonna be int when you print it out. So those are some kind of fancy thing. Sometimes you don't wanna keep the old digit. You kind of wanna like cut it off and then make it like a simple integer type. Then you can just call the float function and then put the value inside, and then they're just gonna remove the digits and then just give you the integer number. And you can also do same for the float to int to float, and then you can also convert int to string. You remember we couldn't do this one, right? Because the Python doesn't understand this syntax. And then if you wanna make the 5 into string 5, what you can do is you can maybe do just string like this. Then the Python will understand this as string 5, which means this is going to be just 5 for from Python perspective. And then you can add 5 to 10, and it's not gonna be 15 because they're not the number, but they're gonna add these two strings and then make it into one. What if you wanna do convert the string into the int? So you can do some calculation, right? For that, you can also change a string 10 to int. So you can do maybe like plus, apply the plus operations or division or what, but with the string you cannot do it, right? Um, and then like a real world, let's say you want to process some like Excel data, or you're using different sources of the data. And then when you working with them, the types of the data is all different. So what you want to do is check the data type first. Let's say you have Excel file and then you have a lot of numbers or a lot of like a different like a characters. And then when you are working with them, you don't know what kind of type of this data. You don't know if you can do operation or operate plus operators, or you don't know if you can add all the strings together. So first thing you want to do is check the type of the data, and then see, okay, this is a string. I have to convert into the int, or you can say, oh, this is an int, or I want to change it to the string. So this type can be useful when you're working with the different data, different type of the data. Um, okay, going back, so we just covered the type, a type. What is a type? How do we use with this function? And then before we are moving on to the functions, we can take a 10 minutes break and then come back at 8. Um, and then yeah, we'll start from there. So I'm gonna see you guys at in 10 minutes. So see you soon. Hey, can you guys hear me loud and clear? Okay, great. So it's 8 p.m. We have a lot of things to cover, so let's move on to the function. So I just give you the code line by line, a lot of like operation, like line by line code, but there is a way we can make a code reusable and more efficient using the function. So function is basically kind of like wrappers where you can put the code inside, and then you can like reuse the code multiple times if you write a function properly. So the syntax is like you use def, and then you put the function name, and then you put the parameters. It's like a variable names you're gonna use inside of the function, and then you write like some kind of statement inside of the function. Let me show you the example. So we have a function name, we have a parameters in this parentheses, and then we call it by function name and then passing the parameters, and then you can get the result and then assign the value to the variables, something we call return result. And then to give you a better example, let's look at this function. So we talk about how to calculate the radius, and with the radius pi, calculate how to calculate the area, right? And then let's say you wanna create you wanna get the different areas, and then you wanna get the result multiple times with the different values. So you create this function called find area, and then you have you like it's empty, which means you don't pass any value to this function. And then you put some code inside of the function. A radius is going to be 10, pi is this, and the area you calculate like this, and then you want to print it out. But there is an issue here, and if you can think about, because this function can only calculate the area with 10 radius, right? And then this is not efficient. Like what we can do better if you want to calculate the area with different radius. And then we can think about, okay, should we have to change like a radius here? Or do we want to create like a multiple different function, like find area with radius 10, find area with radius 20? So that's depending on how you design the function, right? So to do this better, we can modify it a little bit to have let's see, the different radius value whenever we call this function. So this one is a little bit different. So radius is gonna be to be different. This is the kind of parameters here. Remember we had the variables store the value, but if you pass that different value for that function, you call it parameters, and then you can use the parameter names here. So what we're gonna do, let's say you wanna pass the 10 to this with this function, and then this 10 will be calculated as part of radius, and it's gonna print out different results whenever the different value you're passed to this function. So this function is better than previous design because it's not just calculating one type of the area. You can like call different you can calculate different with the different radius. And this is why we need to design the good functions for the to reuse this function and then make the code more efficiently. So then how do you call that function? You can call it like a find area. You remember how do we print some values? It's same like that. So that print function is provided by Python, and the Python have that print function somewhere. So that's why we can just easily call the print function and then pass the value in parentheses. And then this one, parentheses, and then this one, you create your own function, and then you pass the value. And then if you pass this value inside of here, they're gonna take this value as radius and then calculate and print it out. So depending on the value you pass to this function, it's gonna print the different result in the screen. So if you wanna get the value from the function, you can also use this assign operation. But if you don't like return any value, it's gonna be just none. So for example, this one, you calculate the pi, you calculate the area, you print it out, but this function doesn't return anything. If you want to return something, we can just write a one line of the code and then say return maybe area. And then if you do that, when you use these assign operators, this my area variable will have the returned value from the find area function. So this is how you use function. And this is a good example because we can calculate the different area based on the different value of the parameters. And then you can also return the area like I explained, and then you can assign the value from the return value from the function, and then you can also print it up. So this is how you call the functions. Any questions? Okay, I don't see any. Okay, so good. We can pass this for now. And this is the same example with the functions, but let me give you example how these variables are different. So inside of the function, we have a variable, my variable, and then outside of the function, there is also variable. However, this is like a different world. What it means by different world, inside of the function, they're like kind of community. Let's say we have a Sarah here in this class, and then outside of this class, there might be another Sarah, right? Like in a different course. And then are those two Sarah same? No, right? So variable is like that. So we have my variable, and then there's another variable outside of it. So when you use this variable, they don't know each other. So when you print 5, the my parameters is going to be 5, and you assign my variable 20. And even though my variable is defined outside of the function first, when you print out 5, it's gonna be just print a 5, and then my variable is not gonna change. So it's going to be just the same, like a 7. And then this is kind of variable only exists and a variable locally inside of the function. So we call it like a local variable. So they're just using the fancy word like a global local, but it's just simple. So however, there is a way we can kind of connect two different variables using the global keyword. So let's say those two Sarah is actually same. Sarah is actually taking another class too. And then we want to call the Sarah outside of the Sarah inside of the class too. And then we can kind of use the global keyword. Okay, and then this my variable. This is not only exists inside a function. This is already exists. So you get this value from outside the function, and then you assign the new value. And then when you change the value, they will understand these variable are the same. So you can just, when you print it out, it's gonna be updated value to 20. So that's the differences. And then because they're like there exists globally inside or outside a function, we call it global variable. And then to access that variable, you have to put the global keyword in front of your variable so that Python can understand, okay, this variable is not local variable. We want to use that outside of it. So that's the differences. Yeah, so let me show you the code real quick. So I explained this is not a function. This is all the lines. If you want to calculate the different radius multiple times, you have to do this, right? You want to calculate the area with the radius 20, and then you will have to copy and paste, and then this is not efficient. So to make a repetitive code in an efficient way, so you can use the function. So here we have a function here, and inside of function, we have a code here. Make sure you have a space for the each in front of each lines inside of the function, and that's just a rule. So when you define the function, the code inside the function have to be a space in front of it. And then when you run it, you have radius 20 and call the find area function. And then you calculate the area, it return the area, and then you assign the value to the area variable, and then you can print it out. So it returns the area of the circle with the with radius 20 is this value, okay? If you don't have a space, it's gonna give you error, and then it's gonna give you friendly error saying expected on indented block after function diff definition on line 3. So I assume this is a line 3. They expected after a function name, you're gonna have a space, but you don't have it, so it's complaining. So you can just fix it simply using the tab and then running again, and then it's gonna fix it. So Jupyter Notebook is very interactive. So you can run any code. If there is an error, it's gonna give you the error right away. So you can kind of copy the error or search on the Google or somewhere, and then they're gonna say, oh yeah, because you get the error because you don't have the space before your code. So that's how you code and debug. So yeah, this is how you use function. And then so moving back to the slide, and then now we learn the function, and then there are like the key ways you can control the flow of your program. So we make decisions every day, like, oh, if I take the class today, I'm gonna turn on the camera. If I don't go to the class, maybe I play games, maybe I play Minecraft, or maybe I do something else. Like our thinking process, we can do the same thing in Python. Like and one of that if is like an if statement. So you remember the Boolean true and false? So if the statement is to true, it's gonna run the code. So if the statement for this after if is false, they're not gonna run it. So for example, let's say you have a variable number of wheels and it's 3, and then inside of the if you say if number of the wheels less than 4, you're gonna run this code. If not, it's not gonna run the code. So for example here, 3 is smaller than 4, so they're gonna run this code. So if you run this code, they're gonna give you, okay, print you don't have enough wheels, or I'm giving you 4 wheels, and then it's gonna change the number of the wheels. So there are like 2 cases you can do, like if this is true, run this. If not, run this. So you can use with if else, or you can just use if. However, if you're there like a 2 situation, something is true or something is false, you can use if and else together. And then based on that, you can use 2 different code. So if you run this, this is not gonna run. But if you go into this else, this if statement not gonna run, because only one case is gonna be true for this case, right? For example, if I don't eat dinner today, I'm gonna do something. That means when you do something, that means you didn't eat dinner. So only one case is possible. If you see the example, now number of wheels is 3, and then you use if, okay, if number of wheels are smaller than 3, you're a motorcycle. If not, you are a car. So this case, do you think it's gonna be run the int if code or go to the else? Right. So 3 is not smaller than 3. So it's gonna go to your car. This is how you use if and else. So but there can be complex scenarios too. Like what if um let's say you eat dinner and then you don't know what to eat. And then what if your friend says, let's have a dinner, but I want to eat some Korean food. And then what I want to eat some another friend said, oh no, I want to eat like hamburger or I want to go in and out. And then other friend said, actually, I just want to drink coffee or I just want to go get boba. So you're now thinking, I don't want to eat boba, but maybe I want to go eat in and out. So you're making some cases inside of your in your mind, and you can say, okay, if you're going to eat boba, maybe I will go. If it's in and out, maybe I do something else, maybe suggest something. Or if it's not in and out, or if it's not boba, I'm not gonna go. I just like I'm just gonna ditch my friends. I will just have fun at home, right? So there can be multiple decisions based on your cases, and then you can also do the same in Python. So just remember for that, you can use if, and that there is a case, else if, there's a second case. If it's not both of the case, you're gonna just go to else. And then make sure only one statement gonna run among these three statements, right? So if these Boolean expressions first in if, they're gonna run and then they're not gonna run other statements here. So that's the things to remember. So here, um, what line or what kind of a condition is true based on this scenario? What kind of message is gonna print it out? It's a good example. Think about it. Yeah, right, right. Good job. So yeah, this is three. First if, checking if it's one, no, going to the next. Is it two? Is it two? No. So going to next. Number of wheels are three because they're same. So it's gonna print out your tricycle, right? So and then it's not gonna run other statements because you're only looking for one statement, right? So this is one of the examples. And then going, this is the same example. So I think we're good with this. And then there is also a way you can get the input from your keyboard, and then you use this input function. So here you can say type your age, and then you can use this input function, and then when you type it, that value will be assigned to the variable. It can be also useful. I will show you in the demo after real quick. So it's like the example is like this. So you're saying input like what is your name, and then you type it in your keyboard, and then that value is gonna be assigned in the username. And then if you type how old are you, and then maybe you put like I don't know like 18 or 19, and then um, it's gonna um, understand your input as maybe string. So you use this int function. We covered it a little bit like in the early on. If you use int, you can convert string to int. So user age is going to be maybe 18 or 20. And then maybe you can do some minus from the 2007 and then get the birth year or whatever. And if you want to know at this point, now 2025, I think, so you can just do like this and then get the get your like a birth year. So yeah, their like input also is built-in function. So if you want to type something and to get the values from there, you can also use this function as well. Yeah, this is how you use it. Let me see if we have examples for that. Okay, so we just learned if else statement. Number is 0, and then you have three cases. You wanna conditions you wanna check. If number is bigger than 0, that's positive number. If number is equal to 0, that's 0. Else negative number. This one, your number is 0, so it's gonna fall into this second L if, which is number is equal to 0, so it's gonna print out the 0 here. And then for getting input from the user, you can do, so now you type input, what is your name? And I can just say, I'm Emma. Okay, then next input, how old are you? 100. And then like you're taking that 100 as input, and then you convert that into the integer type, and then 2025 divided by minus 100, and then they assume I'm born in 1925. That's how you use input function. And then how do you work with how can you work with this if else statement? Okay, so we learned function so that we can reuse the code multiple times. And then we also use if else for decision making scenarios in your program. So far, we know we don't like repetition. We want to optimize our code. We want to write a code efficiently. So there are other things you can do, you can do for the repetitive task. So another one for the looping is while. So if statement, it only run once for each condition, but the while is running on as long as the condition is true. So you have Boolean expression here, and the while is gonna run until this expression becomes false. So let's see this case. So you can just write a code like this: while true, print again and again and again. The problem of this code is this statement never change. It's always true. So if you run this code on your computer, maybe your computer will have an issue because this code will never stop. So sometimes, there is like a code like with the virus in it, like there are a lot of like repetitive, like kind of trying to DDoS attack or making your computer breaks. This kind of like a while loop, like trying to run something on your computer again and again, can be really dangerous. And then if you write a code like something wrong that can run this loop forever, the program will run forever and it's gonna hit on your CPU or memory, so your computer wouldn't be happy with it. So we should make sure we put the reasonable statement inside of the while loops so it can finish at some point. So this is a problem. This has an issue in this while statement. So we shouldn't do that. You can try on your like a Jupyter notebook and then see what's gonna happen on your computer. You're not that happy with that. Maybe you can just stop, but it will lag a little bit. So this might be a good example. So let's say times through loop, you start with the 0. So while this is true, so 0 is smaller than 10. So you're going to print it out. And then you do plus, like times through the loop plus 1. So time through loop is going to be 1. And then it run this again. And then you add 1 again. It's going to be 2, 3, 4. And then when does it stop? Can you guys think of when this loop stop? We are adding 1 at each round, and then we're running again and again and again until this statement is false, and then it won't run this while loop again. Okay, will this run this while loop when the times through loop is 9? What about it's 10? Right, so Ray, it stops when times through loop is correct. So if it's 10, that means this is false. So it's not gonna run this again. So this is how you use loop with while, and then you can change the statement however you want. Just making sure it stops at some point. And then I explained that having the true value here is dangerous because this while loop can run forever. But if you use variable, let's say keep going, like you have true value here, it's gonna run. But at some point, you're gonna get the input from your keyboard, and if you put the quit, and then it's gonna change the variable to false, and then while loop will check this keep going variable again, and then now it's false, so the loop can finish. This is also one example where you can use the variable and then change the loop statement. But if user doesn't type quit from user's keyboard, it will never stop. So maybe it's also dangerous to have this kind of code. Just making sure it stops at some point. So let's see. Okay, so this is the example we talked about. We start with the 0 value and then we print it out and then we do +1. Do you remember this one? Like a fancy way to use 1 plus 1, count plus 1, and then assign the value to the count. So you can reuse this count variable again and again. So when you run this, it's gonna do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then once it gets 5, it will stop. So it won't run the rest of the code and just get out the loop. This is one example. And then this one, now you have to type it from your keyboard. And then when you run it, I can just put my name. I can put Sarah, I can put Daniel, it won't stop because I don't put anything, like go on and on. Please stop. It won't stop, but you will have to just type quit and then it stopped. So what happened? You typed quit and then keep going, became false, and then now it's going to the while loop again, and then now the condition is false, so it says, okay, I will stop the loop, and then the program is done. So yeah, this is the while loop. And then going back to the slide. Okay, this part. I didn't add it to the slide, but there is another one called for. So for it's kind of different from the while, because for loop it's gonna pick up the value from this variable, and it's gonna run one by one. What I mean by that, so my string is hello world, and then if you say for my var in my string, that means you're gonna pick the each character from my string one by one, and then you wanna check first my var is H, and then it's gonna be E, L, L, O. But inside of the for loop, you can see if my var equal to O, you can see I found an O. So it's just like that. So it runs, it printed out, I found an O 2 times because there's 2 O in this string. So it just run string as one by one. And then you can also check each characters and then use the if statement if you want to do something here. Usually for in, you can use any variable that you wanna use to pick up the value from the my string, but the my string value should be somewhere already have a value, and then this my var, you can just do anything like var, and then make sure you can use it inside of your for loop, but making sure this in, after in, this variable should contain some sort of the values, like a string or something else you're gonna learn later, like a list or tuples, so it can pick up one by one. That's how you use for loop. To cover this more, I will just go back to the slide and then talk about different data types. So string was in a quote, and then it had the characters in it, like this is a string. But there is something other types called tuples, and then all of these values, all of this type of like structure can have multiple values. For example, integer, float, it can only store one value, right, at a time. But what if you want to store multiple values, like how you store multiple characters in string? So to support that, Python have multiple different data types. So tuples, you use it like this. You can hold any data type. You can mix like Boolean, integer, string. You just need to put it everything in here. But once you put everything together, you cannot change those values. So sometimes you wanna use tuples. It's like a box. Some boxes you only put some specific stuff, like for box for maybe socks, or box for some kind of toys. Then you have some just one type of the product in that box. But like a tuples, you can store a lot of different things. But because you have a lot of different things, you cannot change it once you put it. So that's the tuples. And then there is a list. This is a parenthesis, as you can see, parenthesis. But the list is with the square brackets here. So the difference is you can change the value. So those are look same, but they're different. This one you cannot change it, but this one you can change it. So that's the difference. And the dictionaries is like literally like a dictionary. When you look up the dictionary, sometimes you find the key first, and if you go to the page, there are like some like information related to that key, right? So if you want to map the key and the value, you can use the dictionaries, and then how you use it, you use the curly brackets, making sure that's the dictionaries, and then you separate it by commas. So this is the key value, one set. So key is one, and the value is and it's a two, and then and this is two. Oh, this is like a Romanian, I think, characters. And then three, three, and the four, four, and the five, five. So if you want to get the value of this, you can only access this. You can access it from the key. So that's the dictionaries. So I know there are a lot of things we are covering right now. So I can show the examples later on. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, just like drop the messages whenever. Um, so immutable types, this is the data structure you cannot change once you store the values into the variable. Like a tuple, you cannot change those values. This is how you, and also string, once you assign the values, you cannot change it. So because it's like a rules in Python, if you're trying to change it, they're gonna say, okay, you cannot change this value, so don't do it. So this is the two types called immutable types. Um, and then like what if, okay, you have a like a string, like include multiple characters in my string variable. What if you want to get like specific value? Like I want to get this T, I want to get this S, or I want to get this like E or something. So to do that, you can like access through the index like this. So in programming, the index always start from zero. So when you do like a use zero index, it's gonna point to the T, which is the first letter in the string. And you can do one, and it's gonna be H. And two, it's gonna be I. And three, it's gonna be S. So that's how you access the its letter in the string using the index. Also, if you want to check the string size, like a length of the string, you can use the length function. And this is also a built-in function in Python. So if you use this length function, it's going to return the total like the length of the string for the variable. Um, if you do like a minus, that means you're going backward from the start. So zero is here, but if you're gonna go to the backward, that means minus one means here because you wanna access it from the back. So you can also do that in Python. So if you do minus two, it's gonna be T, and then minus three, it's gonna be S. So people are using it because they sometimes just want to get the last character in the string, and you don't know what is the index you have to use. Then you can just use minus one. So it's basically you just like a look back and then see, okay, what is the characters before me, which is before zero, and then minus one is going to be this dot. But if your index is outside of the total length, um, it's gonna give you error. So let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah 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 blah. It's like less than 5,000 words, right? So if you're trying to access through the index that doesn't exist, it's gonna produce an error. So that's the one case. Um, This is examples where you can access the letter with while loop. For example, I said the index start from the 0. So let's say there's a my string, and then you want to read each character from the beginning one by one. So you read index, and then you can check, is this J? And then if you found it, you can print out J. If not, you do index plus 1, and then make sure you don't go outside of the bound, like outside of the total string, number of the total string. So because if you do that, it's going to give you an error. So making sure you only run the while loop when the index is inside of the range of the string. So this is also one example. This is for loop. You can also get the specific range inside of the string, like a start, using the start and end. So if you do that, that means you want to produce starting from the 0, but not including 2, which means 0, 1, 2, you don't include the 2, but you want to get from 0 to 1. So it's going to return th. What if you want to get the index from starting from the 3, but before 6? You can use 3 and colon 6, and it's going to return s space I, s space, oh no, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 3 characters. So 3 s space and I. So there is a quiz here. What is gonna returns if you do 1 colon 4? Oh, yeah, great. So yeah, it's gonna be his because 1 to 3, but before index 4, so it's gonna be his 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but we don't include 4. So 5 colon 7. Yeah, Jaden, Ray, you got this. You got the answers, and then also 5 to 7. It's gonna be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's gonna be is. So yeah, you can play with these slices as well. Make sure there's a start and the end point. And the end point is not included in the result. If you don't want to include the start because it start from the beginning, you can remove it as well. Like this means this is like 0 from 0 to 2. Because you don't include that, the Python will understand that, okay, you want to read it from the beginning, so it's gonna be th. Like same for this as well. If you miss the end part, it's gonna read the index to the end. So if you start from the 5, 0, 1, 3, 4, 5, it's gonna be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is gonna be this is gonna return because this means 5 to end. If you don't include anything, you can just read from the start to the beginning, from the start to the end. We don't use that a lot unless you wanna copy the value, the whole value to somewhere else. But missing the start is very common because you don't want to add like a 0 all the time. So those are still like valid if you miss one thing. But if you miss a column, it's gonna just access the specific with the specific index. So it's not going to be a range value. yeah, you can use it like this. Um, However, if you slice the value and then save it to some string, we call it that you're copying specific part of the string into the different variable. So that's why we call it copying the data, because Python, it create a space somewhere to store my string, but when you copy it, it create another space to store another variable. So when you do this, it basically copy the value for that range and then store the value to his string. So you can think of this as kind of copy and paste, but using the different variables. I also explained a tuple. You can just store different type of the values however you want, but you have to use comma to divide it, and you cannot change those values. Um, I think this is also covered. And then like string, if you want to access the specific value, you can use this like using the index. This is gonna be value at 0 index. This is gonna be value at the first index. Just making sure the difference is it was divided by this comma, which is different from the string. Because string, each character is gonna be um, can be accessed by index, but this one, comma divided the values. So starting from the 0, and then you can access the value with the same format, but how you store the data is just different. Okay, so I think we can pass this because we have uh, around 10 minutes left. This is a list. You can also store the different data type, but you use the square bracket and then put the value in here. Like a tuple, you divided the values by comma, and then this is the same. You can access the value using the index. Um, like I explained, if you wanna get the one value at a time from the list, you can use for loop. So in my list, you want to get the each element, and then you want to print the type of that. So you remember like there was a bool type, int type, string type. So it's gonna read the element in the list one by one, and it's gonna print a different type of each element in this for loop. And if you wanna add like a new value, you can use append function. So my list dot append 5 gonna give you true bool 3 5. So tuple was immutable, and you cannot change the value, but the my list you can change this value if you want. Also, you can append the new value at the end of the string, at the end of the list. So it's gonna add after 3, which is index is gonna be 3. And then the dictionary, there is a key a value pair. You can store as many as you want, just making sure the key value is in pair with the colon, and then each pair is divided by colon. And a comma, and then you use it like this. You can also access the dictionary by indexing with key. So these are different from how we use with the tuple or the list or the strings. These are the key of the dictionary, and then using the key, you can get the value. So those are the difference. This is the same. Alias and clones. So last part is aliases and clones. So I explained if we create a variable, we create a space for that variable, and then that variable stores some data, right? So this case, a variable store the list of these values, 5, 10, 50, 100. And then let's say you create another variable called b, and then you assign a to b. That means a and b is basically pointing to the same data. That means if you print b, it's gonna be same as print a. And then sometimes you wanna have like multiple variables pointing the same values or the list. You can use this. That's called aliases. And then let's say you wanna point and changing the data. So let's say you are specifically accessing the value in the list using index 0, and then you change it. And A is having the different value now. Change it 10, 50, 100, but B points to the same data. So B also will have the same values to return. So those are the interesting part when you want to point, use the two variables pointing the same value. However, if you remember that there's a way we could copy a specific range in the list, and if you do that, they basically copy the subset of the list and they assign it to the different variable to B. So A and B is not same here, or not same here. So when you change the value in A list, it's not gonna apply in B because they're basically pointing to the different list. And then if you do that, it might look similar to B equal A, but they're different. This is like, I want to point what A pointing. So B and A are basically same. But this one is just copy all of these values and then create a new list for B. So A and B are not same. So just careful. These two statements, these two expressions are different. This case B and A are same, but this one is not. So those are the differences. And then now last part in for the code. I explained, we went through this. We know the answers. It's gonna return some subset of the strings based using the index, and then we learned list, tuples, dictionary to store the multiple of items, and list is ordered collection of items, can change, tuples cannot change. Dictionary is kind of different because they have unique key and values pair. And this is how you use it. For the tuple, use this parentheses, and then you store the different type of value here. You can access using the index, and then also you can slice it using 1 and 4. You access from 4 and before from 1, 2, 3, and then no, not including 4. So it's gonna return like 2, 3, and A here. And then this is list. Same, you can access the elements using the index. So 0 is gonna return 1. And then you can also change the value. If you change it, it's gonna show the different value at the first index, which is 0 index. And you can also add a new value to the end of the index, and it's gonna add D here. It didn't exist before. And then you can also use the for loop to get each element at a time. And then you can go through all the elements one by one with the for loop. And the dictionary, key is name, age, city, and then for the key, the name, the value is Alice. So this is how you access it. If you wanna get the value, using the key name, it's gonna use like this, and then you can return the Alice. And then this is all the examples. And then I'm pretty sure all of these resources can be shared or already shared. So yeah, you can like run this code and then kind of change it if you want. And then this is like a special like keyword to get the key and value at the same time, one by one. I can go run this real quick. So if you run this, it will like get the key value pairs, and then you can get the key value at the same time and then run it one by one. And we also went through aliases and clone. So alias is just another name for the same object. We talk about A and B. This case, A and B are pointing the same list, 5, 10, 50, 100. So those are called alias. And clones are copies. So they are not the same. It's a duplicated data, but they store in the different places. So you can use it like this, and A and B are not same. And then if you change A, if you print A and B, those are gonna be different. So like this. Okay, I think this is end of the today's class. So we went through the Python like basic stuff. So next session, I think it's gonna be Thursday this week, and then we're gonna learn more about data analysis part using the Python libraries. That's gonna be less boring, I think, because now we covered a lot of basic stuff. We can do some like a fancy visualization and some like analysis stuff. So I think that's it. And thank you for joining the class today. If you have any questions, feel free to send the email or message me. Yeah, that's it. And have a good rest of the day.